Just the other day I was sitting down reading through Reddit and I was wondering, how big of a problem is boosting really in Overwatch? I was wondering that because I've caught onto news of somebody having been banned from contenders for a whole year because of boosting. And that obviously was not the only case. Even in the league we had a few cases of pro players having been suspended for a number of matches for boosting. But what really made me think twice about that was a series of tweets from Jane, which I would like to read out to you guys, as I believe that he made a few very good points. Okay, I have to intervene really quickly. Something you don't see when it comes to my videos is the production cycle. I was working on this video days in advance, but then we had the PTR update with the LFG feature, and I had to put this on hold to cover that instead. Yes, I'm going to be referencing a case that has been resolved. That means that the player in question, at least to my knowledge, has been unbanned. But as the video goes on, you will see that it really isn't about that particular case. It's just a catalyst to start a discussion. So please try to stick around. I have gotten the news, but it's really not relevant for the core message that this video is trying to convey. So let's get back into it. I think that being banned for an entire year is too extreme and basically crushes any hope they had of going pro. And after a great showing in the beat, this is a very unfortunate end. The first response you might have to this will be, why would I care about how good of a player they are when they are actively ruining my ladder experience by boosting accounts? And even if you are not directly affected by this as a high-ranked player, you might still dislike the practice for purely ethical reasons. And obviously I wouldn't say that you were wrong if you had that kind of a viewpoint. But let's take a look at what else Jane had to say about this. I personally know quite a few individuals who turned to boosting or account selling in order to make ends meet, since there was, and still is in some cases, no money in the tier 2 and 3 scene. Extreme punishment will not stop boosting. Boosting is a symptom of an underdeveloped semi-pro scene, and we need to provide alternatives if we really want to stop it. Because if the only thing we do is start hunting for skeletons, then we're just going to keep finding them. And this is where the conversation turns a little more grey, because previously, when I thought about boosting as a problem on ladder, I mainly thought about people playing on their buddies' accounts. And that is something that, yes, I have heard of every so often, and the stories usually ended in the same way. Hey, my friend got really upset because they can't get out of their rank so-and-so, and they wouldn't stop whining about how they are in elo hell. So I boosted them a few divisions up, and they promptly fell back down to where they came from. Now, obviously, that is not an issue to take lightly. A player boosting a friend's account will be unfairly affecting the outcome of their matches on their way up, not only increasing their own SR, but potentially also helping others in their teams to get higher than they otherwise would get. And the same issue applies the other way around. Once the original account owner plays again, they will be underperforming and falling back down. But on their way down, they will make other players lose along with them, and that, again, potentially unfairly. This is an issue that doesn't just affect GM and top 500 players, which could be why so many players on lower ranks are so wary of Smurf accounts. You never know who's gonna be sitting behind a low level account, whether it is an actually new player, somebody who had a bad time on their main and now wants to go on a tear through lower ranks, or somebody who got boosted by a friend. There are more than 2 potential faces that could be behind any low level account that you see at any point on ladder, and that creates a lot of uncertainty. Now, I do believe that the accusation in itself has become a bit of a meme. In an environment where the absolute majority of players does not know how to play the game properly, and yes, that applies to GM as well, calling other players boosted is usually a defensive mechanism. It's something you call somebody else to promptly shove the blame away from yourself. And that's why I never really took it all that seriously. I mean, even your Overwatch at one point said everyone is boosted, which might sound funny initially, but when you think about it, there is a wee bit of truth behind that. Bottom line for that part of the discussion is really just that there's no standard for gameplay performance in Overwatch. On an anecdotal basis, we always have players reporting things like, starting from Platinum, players get slightly better mechanically, or in Diamond upwards, game sense is generally improved, but in reality, it's just that, anecdotes. Where in other games you are usually going to be required to improve all of your skill sets simultaneously to get better, because all these things are very inherent to the gameplay of said game, in Overwatch you can get away with being good at just a few things. You can get to a high rank on the back of incredible aim without ever having your bad positioning challenged till you reach let's say Masters or GM. It's also possible to get to a high rank just based on the fact that you have great game sense and make really good decisions. But then you could potentially be lacking in the clutch department because you are mechanically lacking. Every combination of proficiencies and a lack thereof can be found in pretty much all places on ladder, which again makes the boosting argument kinda ridiculous. But to finally loop back around to the actual topic, that of actually boosted players rather than baseless accusations, it is my belief that the percentage of players affected by the typical I boosted my friend's account cases is rather small. And it is something that is very difficult to prove definitively. Naturally, it's not something that Blizzard endorses, and that's really where the conversation ends. It is against their TOS and thus declared as a very bad thing. The more interesting but less relatable part of this conversation is focused on these organized boosting services that some high-ranked and pro players are part of. If we were to take Jane's statements at face value and believe that organized boosting is a result of pro players trying to make ends meet while participating in a professional scene that simply doesn't yield enough payout to survive, then this could lead us to assume that the Overwatch League symbolizes what we have been suggesting from the very beginning. A very rushed professional league built from the ground up on the back of Blizzard's monetary investment over something that started and was furthered by the community. It shows how much they were shooting for gold right away, getting the best players in the world to create this amazingly supported tier 1 scene without really thinking about potential reinforcements. Because eventually, more teams are going to want to join and other players might want to quit. And if you already hired most of the best players in the world, then finding new ones is gonna be tough if you don't also properly support the tier 2 and 3 scenes. Reality is that being a pro player is a massive investment, and for many, it is also a gamble. They are betting on eventually making it and recouping their cost, but most of them never get there. Now, I am not trying to get you to show pity for those individuals. At the end of the day, boosting services are not tolerated by Blizzard, and if you try to make money on the back of something that is against their TOS, then getting punished once you are caught is something you have to expect. And again, I'm also not expecting you to pity someone who contributes to the creation of an environment that makes playing this game less enjoyable for you. There are also plenty of cases where pro players were just grinding it out on all sides. They had a full-time job while streaming on the side, eventually got their names out there and somehow made it. There are enough examples of players who managed to make ends meet on the back of hard work that was not against Blizzard's TOS. But what we all have to consider is that we are not trying to pity those who break the rules, we want to find a solution for this problem. And to achieve that, we have to understand where it comes from. We can't stop your average Joe from boosting a friend's account at some point in time, but we can try to lessen the impact that organized boosting services have on the game. So if it is true that those are fueled by the efforts of those trying to make it in a pro scene that is simply under-supported, then this is something that Blizzard has the means to improve on. It is not a problem that is ever going to entirely go away, and the perception of its existence will always be stronger than its actual impact anyway, but at this point, we're just trying to make it as much of a non-issue as possible. I'm gonna be leaving a few links down in the description below, including of course the tweets from Jane that I referenced today, as well as a link to InvenGlobal.com covering the story of LA Gladiators Bishu and how he made it in the pro scene. The article's headline is, "Before I signed, I literally only had $80 in my bank account," and I believe that you will find it very interesting. With that said, if you are not interested in reading and rather would spend your time listening to another video, may I suggest my video covering the 4-step plan to escape your rank? With everyone believing that their rank is half of what it should be, I believe that this might actually help you grind a few more SR before the season is over. You can find the card on screen right now. And with that said, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and maybe share this video with a friend you think would find it interesting. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.